everyone, and welcome to another episode of Little Give. We have Jen with us today. I'm so excited to catch up with her and see what's new. Go ahead, Jen. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what you're all about.
Hi, it's good to be here. I am Jen Rafferty. I am coming in from Central New York, and I am the CEO and founder of Empowered Educator, which provides professional development about emotional intelligence for teachers so they can navigate some of these hard times and show up as their best selves for their kids and their communities.
I love how passionate you are about what you do. Why don't you tell the audience what got you started in this?
So, I was a teacher for about 15 years. I taught music, mostly middle school and high school, and I absolutely loved it. But the truth was, while I was really good at what I did, I was, writing articles and presenting at conferences, and I was nominated for the Apple for the Teacher Award by my peers one year towards the end of my career. I was I was overcompensating for this gnawing feeling of stress and overwhelm and burnout. I felt a lot of shame about it, and I was getting sick. Um, I would constantly have back pain. I would be tied up with sinus infection after sinus infection. We know how uncomfortable that is. And weird skin things were happening, and no doctor could tell me what was going on. And not once did I ever stop and take a look at what was happening in my life and the choices that I was making and how I was showing up to my work, to my family, and consider that that was perhaps a cause of what was making me feel so run down. So on the outside, everything was great, and I'd kind of make a side comment of like, yeah, I'm not feeling great, but here we are, we're doing it for the kids. And the truth is, I was hiding in plain sight all of this pain that I was feeling, and wasn't sustainable. But then COVID happened and everyone's lives shifted. I stopped teaching during that time to homeschool my kids, and I went on my own healing journey and realized that the path and the learning of emotional intelligence and high level mindset work and being able to choose the stories that you tell to show up the way that you want to show up in this world is really your agency. I didn't have to buy into that martyrdom story anymore that I believed about myself. And I thought this was a missing piece in education, and educators, particularly teachers, really needed to know the skills to do this, to show up better for them and therefore the people that they serve. So I resigned and started my business, and that was almost 5 years ago at this point.
Wow. It's not everybody who just takes that leap. Do you think it was the stress? What was it about it that was really causing you to have, such a hard time?
I think as a teacher, who's also a woman and who's also a mom, we carry a lot of everybody's weight. We take on responsibility. We take on a lot of emotional baggage. We take on a lot of other people's laundry lists of things because we want to be helpful. And in return, we're called things like superheroes. You can do it all. You're a superhero. You do everything, and it's meant as a compliment. But truthfully, that narrative becomes so dangerous because when we continue to buy into it, we realize that, or we believe about ourselves that we don't need to take time for ourselves. Wonder Woman doesn't ever take a day for herself to rest. So needing something, even something as simple as rest, something as simple as a bathroom break, seems selfish. And the martyrdom contributes to the burnout. And so why was I feeling so burned out? Why wasn't I questioning it? Because it's in the air that we breathe. It's never even occurred to me to question it because this is just how it is, isn't it? And COVID led me to make a new decision. It was a
Yeah.
disruption.
Well, what do you believe could be like a healthy balance? I mean, I know that, of course, as myself, I'm a mom. I've got 6 kids and 5 grandkids and one on the way. I've got jobs and careers and all the things going on. And I do want to be able to do everything. And I do want to be able to fulfill my own dreams and also those of my family and be a great mom and all of that. I mean, so obviously, as you know, it's not an option just to say, well, it's all about me now. So how do you strike that balance if there even is a balance?
So that's a really good question because I get that when people first come into this work, it seems like a zero-sum game. Well, I can't just drop everything and make it all about me, Jen. So how do I even do this? And I'm going to invite you to expand your idea of what making it about you actually means. Because when you continue to pour from an empty container, how are you actually showing up to your career or your careers, as you mentioned, or all of these gorgeous people in your family and that brand new baby on the way? And how are you showing up to your friend who asks you to help her out with a baby shower? Or if we are not switching the narrative about that, understanding that it's not a zero sum, that actually the most generous thing you can do for everybody is take care of yourself. It's not about cutting the cord and getting rid of all of the responsibilities, but it's changing and shifting your perspective of how you get to show up. Even questioning, what do I need right now? And how do I get my needs met so that then I can show up with open arms, free from resentment to the people that I love and the work that I love to do in this life. And that shift, that's the work. That's essentially what I teach people how to do.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, you cannot pour from an empty cup, and you do have to like take care of you as well. When you first had this revelation, you're like, wait a second, I need to do this. What was the first step you took towards figuring out what you needed in those moments?
The first step that I took was slowing down. And that seems so simple, but even just saying that again, just slowing down does something to my body. I grew up on Long Island, a very fast-paced world. I'm still like a New Yorker at heart, that everything was go, 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 more, 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 do, do, do. And the faster you can go, the more productive you are. And we're just squeezing every bit of productivity out of every moment. And the first step that I took to this journey that I've been on now for years is asking myself a question, like for science, like let's just see what happens if we do this. What would happen if I slowed down just 10%? We're not dialing it all the way back, just 10%. What would happen? And what I found was I was walking a little bit slower. I was speaking slower, which meant I was more intentional about the things that I was saying. I was responding more slowly. I was reading, I was eating more slowly. And with that slow became more presence. And the space that I created for myself between the moments that I thought I needed to be productive, it allowed me to see my life and how I was living before that from a very different vantage point. And that's when, you can't change something you don't notice. So once the noticing started to happen, that's when things really started to shift.
Hi, my name is Justin Clark, and I'm the president of the board of directors for Driving Single Parents, a 501c3 nonprofit serving the citizens of San Antonio and Bexar County, Texas. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the great work that our organization is doing for the citizens of San Antonio. What you're about to see is just a few photos and videos of the way that we're changing lives for single parents in and around San Antonio, Texas. Our first giveaway took place in April of 2017, just one short month after the formation of our organization. John, a Bexar County resident, was the victim of a horrible drunk driver incident. He and his daughter survived the crash, and we were so proud to give our first car to this deserving family. Fast forward to 2020, a very difficult year for nonprofits. We were able to secure 4 vehicles for single parents in need. Our organization, including our board of directors, list of partners, and portfolio of people we've been able to help in San Antonio, continues to grow, and it's all thanks to donors and local community organizations that have helped us along the way. This giveaway took place in 2021 and shows that we continue to help single parents even after the struggles brought about by COVID-19. Because of limited funds and the overwhelming need, we at Driving Single Parents are incredibly selective with the people we help. Some are victims of domestic violence. Others had a spouse pass away tragically or otherwise fell on hard times. These single parents show adversity in the face of challenge and aren't looking for a handout. We offer a hand up and help get them back in the driver's seat. Many of the single parents we help go on to graduate college, get promotions, get married, mentor others, and some have even been so touched by the gift we gave them that they have decided to join our board of directors to pay it forward and ensure the continued growth of our organization. If you would like to help our organization continue to grow and continue to help single parents in need in San Antonio, Texas, and Bexar County, Texas, we would really appreciate your support. Please visit us online at www.drivingsingleparents.org. Thank you.
So whenever you started to slow down and start to like, okay, now I'm going to just relax a little bit. I don't need to be productive all the time. Did you feel any like anxiety or any feeling of like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to get everything done. If I keep going like this, I'm not going to do all the things I want to do. I'm not going to be able to accomplish all the tasks at hand. Did you ever get that feeling before you got used to the feeling of being slower?
Yes. Yes. That's part of this journey too, that I think people forget, or I don't even think they forget. I think that they're not knowledgeable enough in this, and not by any means other than we were just never taught these skills. These are skills. We don't learn this anywhere, right? And most of us didn't grow up in a house where this was talked about. We didn't have the vocabulary for this. And so all of the change that we make in this world sustainable change happens at the speed of safety. This is why New Year's resolutions don't work. You can't push yourself into change or shame or guilt yourself into change. There is a nervous system's interface, I'm going to say, that is part of who you are. It is your programming. It is your neural pathways that have been operating, in my example, in this one case, in this context, really, really fast. And so if one day I'm like, all right, we're going to go slower now, it might stick for a day or two, maybe 3 if I'm lucky. But eventually my nervous system is going to be like, Jen, what are you doing? This is not how we operate. You need to go back to hustling, because as your nervous system, I have no evidence that you've survived going this slow. And my job is to keep you alive. So we're going to make sure that we give you thoughts that go back into those spirals that will get you back into that hustle. And that is simply your biology. And again, having the tools to recognize when that anxiety comes, when those thoughts are going to be pervasive, how to regulate your nervous system and create the safety for yourself, that you're retraining your neural pathways in your brain, that slow can be safe. It is safe to believe that slow is safe. And it's practice. And it's every time you recognize that thought coming back in, making it safe. Because what's normal, quote unquote normal, or what feels like homeostasis, isn't always the thing that's going to serve you and get you to where you want to be. It's often not. So how do we get to where we want to be? We notice and we create safety around it.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I mean, I know, even like I told you a minute ago, I have such a big family and fast paced, and I have this TV show, and I have a magazine, and I have my career. I have everything going on all the time. And the times when I don't have something assigned to a moment, I'm like, am I forgetting something? Should I be doing something? Why am I not doing anything? Maybe I should be doing something. Is there something that can be done? I should be doing something. I can't just sit here. And in my mind, it's just very unusual to have time where I'm just like, there's nothing assigned. So that's why I was asking the question, just for personal reasons.
Yeah, it's a great question. And there's nothing wrong with you. It's your beautiful brain trying to keep you alive. It doesn't have any evidence of you hanging out for more than 3 hours maybe and not thinking about work or the family or whatever. It just doesn't know that that's possible. So if that's something you want to explore, you get to, and you can do it through ways that feel good, where you're loving on yourself so hard, and you get to enjoy those spaces in between, if that's something that you want. And if you don't, also great. That's part of it. Knowing that it's a choice, I think, is fundamentally the most important thing, that we're not living our lives by default. We're living by design. And that takes intention, it takes practice, and having the skill set.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure there's so many people listening out there who are relating on both sides. Like, oh, yes, I can do exactly what Jen does. And then people can see my side where it's like, well, I can't even imagine. My calendar is scheduled, everything, like even family time, everything is like scheduled. And I just can't imagine just having nothing. And so it could be a little scary for somebody who's not
Yeah.
used.
Well, I want to speak to that for a second because, I think there's a misunderstanding about what space looks like because having things on your calendar is amazing. That's how we make impact in this world. As a CEO of my company, yeah, there's going to be things on my calendar. Yeah, there's going to be busy seasons. Yes, there's going to be meetings and hard conversations and time in the spreadsheets and family time and my kids are sick. This isn't about making a choice. Again, it's not zero sum. It's about how do I show up to those meetings? That busy day that I have on Monday, back-to-back meetings, 9 to 3 o'clock. Am I showing up frenetic? Am I showing up constantly thinking about the next thing? Am I showing up forgetting that I had to eat today or go to the bathroom and I haven't, and I'm just ignoring my own biological needs? Or am I prioritizing a sense of groundedness, a sense of fostering some intention where I can meet myself where I'm at and just show up energetically different? So your impact is directly related to your own connection to self. And again, there is no right or wrong. There is no doing it more or doing it less or doing it better or whatever. Everyone's on their own journey. It's about understanding that you get to choose. If it doesn't feel good, it doesn't have to be that way. And if it feels good, keep doing it. Like, we just don't want to do anything that doesn't feel good as a general rule, right? And if you're like, I'm having a million things and I'm juggling all these things and it doesn't feel good all the time, okay, well then let's explore that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes
Mhm.
perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. And some people can get caught up in that where they're just going, 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 and they don't necessarily want to. They're tired and they're like, I don't want to do this, but I have to. I have to show up for that friend. I have to do
Mhm.
all these things. And other people, they do these things because they love it and they want to do it and it gives them energy and it's exciting. So I mean, I can see both sides. Why don't you tell us that once you figured out how to train your brain, how that really impacted you, your life, and how you feel?
Well, it's changing your brain is a process every day. It changes everything because you're changing the way that you see the world. You're changing your perspective. You're changing and therefore changing your perception. Understanding that the thoughts that you think are not facts, they are options. That is fundamental to understanding the agency that you have in your life. Your brain creates tens of thousands of thoughts every single day, and they're mostly coming from your past. They're coming from ego or they're coming from fear. And if you're operating based on those thoughts, nothing's ever going to change for you. Nothing's
Mhm.
ever going to move the needle forward in a way that is more meeting your potential. And knowing that you can choose what thoughts you want to attach to, that's a game changer for everything. Because I'll just use the example as just being a CEO, going from being a teacher to founding a company. It's a big leap, huge,
Mhm.
huge leap. And the belief system that I had and the thoughts that I would think when I was a teacher are not going to be the same as who I am and am becoming as a CEO of this company. I needed to change the way I thought about myself, change the way I thought about my life, change the way I thought about time, about money, about relationships, about transactions, about hiring team. These are all things that if I initially had thought, that kind of life, that's for other people. I that kind of being a CEO, that's not for me. How could I possibly grow something in this world if that fundamentally was my belief? So, this mindset shift allows me to dig in and explore, well, what do I want to believe? What I want to believe is that not only am I capable, I'm really good at building things. And the thing that I'm building here is life changing. And this life is actually meant for me. That new belief, that became the foundation of who I got to become after that. And again, going back to what I said before, just like choosing to feel slow, that belief needed to feel safe in my nervous system too. So expanding every day in that way is all because of the work that I've done and teach. I don't ever teach anything that I don't practice myself.
Hi, my name is Andrew Fraley, and I believe that sometimes we all need a little bit of help. If you're in the San Antonio community and you need some legal help, call me at 210-725-4658.
Yeah, one of my phrases that I love to refer to is like, are you willing to see it differently? And I think that that's what you're creating, not just for your own life, but for those around you and the people that you teach, is like, are you willing to see it differently? Because this is what you're experiencing. But if you look a little harder, you can see a whole new way of being. And if that's what you want, you can help them explore that. So I think that's just really, really awesome. So you said you've been doing this for 5 years now. Tell us, what is the favorite part you have about what you get to do?
It's a great question too. My absolute favorite part is hearing the stories of how this impacted people's lives. That to me, I mean, it knocks me off my feet and takes my breath away every single time. Hearing how someone's life has shifted, not just a little, I mean, shifted because of the work. I'm not even saying it's not, we just give them the tools. It's the work that they've been able to do in our container at Empowered Educator. Not only are they showing up different, they're noticing their relationships with their family become healthier. They're noticing their friendships become deeper. They're noticing they've been able to create boundaries for themselves with people that haven't felt right, and now they can have a relationship with them because the boundaries are set. And they've shared how it's impacted their school communities and in their classrooms, how the relationships they have with their kids is so much more empathetic. Their patience has gotten so much better. The way they interact at the faculty meetings and in the hall, like they're the ones walking down the hall like Meg Ryan and Harry Met Sally, and everyone's like, I want to have what she's having. Like that's how our clients are showing up to school. And especially now, we need to have educators who can show up as their best selves, because there's so much broken right now in everything, but particularly with education. And organizations like the systems don't change when you're just pointing fingers and yelling into the abyss. They change when people change. And the only person you have any agency in changing is yourself. So when this person does it, and this person does it, and this person does it, and this person does it, the ripple effect of that is exponential. And that is hands down my absolute favorite thing about the work that I do.
Love it. So say somebody's listening to this right now and they're saying, you know what, I need that in my life. I need to be everything that she's talking about. I need to feel like that. Give us a peek behind the door. What does that look like for somebody who comes into your world, who needs your help? Give us a little ideas on how that works.
Sure. So we have a ton of free stuff on our website. So I always say, go there to the resources page, because that's the part where you can really get to know a little bit about our work. There's a link to my podcast on there. There's some meditations. There's some quick tools and things you can do that are super practical. And then we have courses that you can take. Our 2 first courses it's called Thrive. They're all self-paced. They are, chef's kiss. It is an exceptional experience that you get, really knowing the foundation of the skills that I'm talking about right there within a beautiful community of educators who are doing the same. And just side note, I say educators, what I mean by that is really anyone who has any interaction with kids. If you're a parent, if you're an administrator, if you are an aunt, an uncle, if you have kids in your life in some way, this is for you. You are an educator. And after those 2 classes, those are prerequisites for our more deeper mindset courses, which are called Redesign Your Mind. And then we are launching a certification next fall.
Wow. Tell us more about the certification. That sounds awesome.
Well, we're still in the works building it, but what I can share is that the certification is for schools and school districts to have teachers who are well-versed in this work, who can be point people for everyone in their school community to support them in their own journeys of being more emotional intelligent, of having highly conscious conversations, and providing a foundation of scaffolding for the folks who are going through this ecosystem that we have in schools. There's a lot of stuff going on all of the time, and new mandates and changes after changes and politics and budget cuts. And there's so much to argue about. But at the end of the day, if we're just going down a few more layers and connecting about our well-being, right? We're human beings. We're not human doings. And we focus so much on the doing and we forget about the being. And at schools, we're in the business of raising humans. And so certification allows for these point people to not only provide trainings or support, but as a chance to redirect continuously of what matters, what's important, and shine a light on the trajectory of whatever it is that they're doing at that school.
Amazing. I'm so grateful that we get to catch up and I get to hear these things, because every single time I talk to you, it's like you're finding new ways to serve. You're finding new ways to help, and you're finding new ways to help all of us human beings be better at what we're meant to do, right? What we're meant to be here for. So I just love that about you.
Thank you. Yeah. And there's actually a book coming out next year with Penguin Random House, and I am so excited about that. That will be pre-sale in the spring and out over the summer. So I can't wait. That's another piece of this that I'm excited to share.
Oh, I'm so excited to read it. I have no doubt it's going to be incredible, just like you are. Well, that leads me to my little give question. So the first one is, can you give the audience an example of a little thing that they can do in their community that might just be a little give on their end, but might make a big impact on the other side?
Sure. I'm sure you heard this before, and it's worth saying. Give someone a compliment. Like go give people compliments. It doesn't cost anything, and it creates such a high frequency connection with each other. You see someone walking down the street, I love your outfit, right? You're holding the door open. Good morning. Your hair looks great today. I mean, this doesn't take very much, but it does require, I'm going to say, a little bit of bravery. I think we're so used to keeping to ourselves and keeping our mouth shut and being afraid of connection. But in this world, especially right now, where we are so hyper connected to each other, so many of us are feeling more disconnected than ever before. And when you can intentionally create a human connection by just having that little compliment give, do it. Just do it. Do it.
Absolutely. And you know how often it happens that you're thinking it anyways. You have the thought of the compliment in your head. It's just for whatever reason, you just don't say it. And you just take that little extra step to say it. And that not just keeps an impact in your life, it makes an impact in their life. And it's like you said, free. Everyone can do it. And you're thinking it anyways. Might as well just voice it.
Yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm.
The second question is, can you give the audience an example of a time in your life where somebody did something little for you that might have just been a little give on their end, but really made an impact on you and in your life?
Sure. I think even I'm going to go in the direction of being in the entrepreneurial space. It is not, I'm going to rephrase it. You need a certain type of intestinal fortitude to be in this entrepreneurial space. And I think some of the most beautiful moments, especially earlier on in this journey, have been when other women especially have given me a chance, have given me a platform, have asked me some questions, have given their time and their expertise, not because they wanted some sort of transaction, but it was because they had a knowledge base and a skill set that I didn't have yet, and they wanted to see me succeed. And so, 20 minutes of their time that they offered for me to ask some really deep questions, where I thought were deep at the time, was at where I was at, mattered. It mattered. And I paid that forward. I pay it forward all the time because the more you give, the more you get. That's how this works. That's why this show exists, right? To keep that message going. It's cyclical, and it's the most beautiful thing.
Mm. And I don't think people realize the impact they're truly making like that. Just giving you that time and that space and asking those questions to make you think a little deeper. They don't really realize what a big impact that is. And so for everybody out there who's listening, if there's somebody in your life, you just give them a few minutes, just give that time. It really makes a big difference. So yeah, thank you for sharing that one with us. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us about a nonprofit that you're excited about?
Sure. Well, it's Pride Month. It's June, and I wanted to share about the Point Foundation. This is an incredible organization that provides scholarships for LGBTQ plus youth who have, in some way or another, had a rough go. This is the reality for a lot of folks who are in that community and don't always have the opportunities that they deserve to get ahead, whether it's because they're couch surfing because they've been kicked out of their houses, or there's some sort of discriminatory action that creates a space where they can't move ahead in a way that they want to and deserve. Point Foundation provides scholarships to make sure that these incredible humans go to live their dreams and get the education that they deserve and go on to really make big impacts in this world. We need to make that voice louder, and that foundation means a lot to me.
Thank you so much for sharing that nonprofit with us today. Why don't you tell the audience where they can get to know more about you, seek out your services, get involved?
Sure. Empowerededucator.com. It's my website. It's one of the places to be. We are doing some cool summer programming right now that's really easy and accessible. So if you want to just check it out as a little appetizer before you dive into the main course, there are really good opportunities there. And I hang out on Facebook at Empowered Educator Faculty Room, as well as Instagram at Jen Rafferty _. So you can find me in all of those places.
Awesome. And if somebody's interested in getting the pre-sale for your upcoming book or maybe listen to your podcast, why don't you give them the details on that as well?
Sure. Book details are not available yet, but stay tuned. And the podcast is Unlock Your Teaching Potential on all of the platforms, Spotify, Apple, all of the places you can find it.
Thank you so much for being on today, Jen. I always love catching up with you, and I love following you online and seeing all the amazing things that you're doing. For everybody who's watching, please get in touch with Jen, find out more about what she's doing. Maybe you want to get certified. Maybe you want to listen to that podcast. Maybe you're really excited about a course she has available. Go and find out more. If you're passionate about the nonprofit she featured today, please go to their website, learn more. And if it's something you feel confident in, please go make a donation. $1 or $5 multiplied by all of you watching really makes a huge impact to these nonprofits. So thank you again for being on, Jen, today. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you all next week. If you enjoyed this episode of Little Give, head on over to our website at littlegive.com. You'll be able to find all the information about previous episodes and past guests that we've had on. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on Little Give, all the information is also on the website. And if you have a nonprofit that you love and would like to recommend be on the show, all of that information is also on the website. We really appreciate you watching today, and we can't wait to see you again next week.